there.
I am here. Check, check. Hey, Kelly.
Hey. Well, hi everybody out there in
Hello.
internet land. Um, it's us again with another Wellness for You segment. Um, if you're familiar with what we do, we were doing these live back at the beginning of the year. Had to go virtual, but we were still able to at least see each other and do our cooking and hanging out. But now, welcome to the really socially distanced version of Wellness for You.
Yeah, we miss you guys. We're happy that you're able to tune in. This session today will be a fun one. Usually we're in person during this time for the holiday cooking classes. And of course, we couldn't due to COVID, but we did not want to miss the opportunity to just have our discussions and give you some tips and tricks to continue to live well and make choices for yourself that will improve the longevity of your life. So we're going to dive in soon. Do you want to give them one more minute, or do you want to just go right in and start?
Well, as always, you guys are encouraged to participate as much as possible by using your chat feature or comment feature wherever you're watching us today. Of course, with every question and comment that we get from you, your name will go into a drawing to win fabulous prizes. Christina already reached out and said hello. So hi, Christina.
Hi,
If you guys
Christina.
want to use your chat box just to test it out and say hey, let us know who's out there and that you can hear us and everything sounds good. And then we can go ahead and get started. Now, today's format's going to be a little different because obviously Michelle and I are in two different places, but we did do some cooking for you, but you'll be viewing that as like a pre-recorded version. But we're here to answer questions and get your comments and hear about what exciting plans you have for the holidays.
Yeah, and speaking of, this session will be focused on diabetes-friendly alternatives, how you can do your part in preventing diabetes, and if you're living with diabetes, how you can manage it so you then can prevent major complications that are generally associated with having diabetes and having increased blood sugar levels for a long period of time. So we're here to focus on that today, but of course, wrap it all around the holidays with Thanksgiving literally being 2 days away. I don't know about you, but I have nothing ready.
So, yeah, it's National Diabetes Awareness Month, which is why we're really honing in on that. But you'll probably be pleasantly surprised by our choice of recipes, and they are available to you probably somewhere within the comment section of wherever you're watching. And then we always put those on our NFP website and try to post those to our Facebook page. That way you have access to them later. And yeah, we're doing some comfort food, some holiday favorites. So hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
But let's start by talking about diabetes a little bit because I get a lot of questions about that. What is diabetes exactly? Well, everything you eat turns into sugar. It turns into glucose because that's what your body likes to use for energy. And your pancreas typically makes a hormone called insulin that helps break down that sugar and gets it where it needs to go. In diabetes, either the pancreas just doesn't make enough insulin or it makes insulin, but your body just doesn't know how to use it as efficiently as it used to. So what happens is all that sugar from the food that you ate just continues to float around in your bloodstream. And the longer that sugar bounces around in the bloodstream, it can start to cause damage to the blood vessels. So diabetes is a concern. Now, you don't get diabetes from eating too much sugar, but it's the way that your body handles the sugar that you do eat. So there's a few different types. Type 1 diabetes, we used to call juvenile onset or childhood onset because a lot of people are diagnosed with that early on in life. Their body just doesn't make insulin at all, so they have to inject insulin with their meals. Their pancreas isn't doing that work for them. So the other type is type 2 diabetes, which we used to call adult onset because we were seeing that more later in life. A lot of times that occurs with weight gain. And we think it has something to do with the body just saying, you're carrying around this extra weight, and so your pancreas just can't work right, or just not able to use that insulin. So that is a type of diabetes, but it's called type 2. There's even a type of diabetes that pregnant women sometimes get throughout their pregnancy. It's called gestational diabetes. So there are a few different types, but there are ways we can test for that. And NFP is currently offering A1C testing, even if you're not able to come into the office for an in-person visit. Maybe you're one of our patients who was able to drive up for these A1Cs throughout the summer. It's too cold to do that now, but they're doing them in our education center so that people with diabetes can still stay on track with having their A1C tested. And A1C is just the way we can look at how much sugar is in your blood and has been there for about 3 months. So you can imagine how that's pretty important to keep track of that number.
Yeah. Thank you, Kelly. And so in addition to diabetes and the various types that Kelly just went over with you guys, there's one where we really hone in on when we're talking about preventing diabetes, specifically type 2 diabetes, and that is prediabetes. Now, some folks back in the day may have heard of it referred to as borderline diabetes. You almost have the sugar in certain communities. And so what that just means is that with prediabetes, your blood sugar levels are elevated in a range that is not considered normal, but they're not elevated in such a way that it would be considered diabetes. So that means you're at the sweet spot, if you will, where you still have an opportunity to make some behavioral changes to your environment, your activity levels, to get your blood sugar levels back to normal. And whether it's prediabetes or diabetes, that's an indication that there could be some type of insulin resistance. And so what we want to do is just introduce to you guys today some great things that could help to improve your insulin resistance and get your blood sugar levels back down to normal, and or overall prevent diabetes from happening in the first place, or reducing the likelihood that it will be onset in an earlier stage of your life. So the great news is with all things as it relates to chronic diseases across the board, today we're talking about diabetes, is that there are prevention methods that you can take. The first way that you can prevent anything is just becoming aware and educating yourself from there, and start implementing some of the things that you hear from professionals such as myself and Kelly and your PCP and other folks in the healthcare profession. So one thing we're going to do today, really briefly, before we dive into these tasty recipes, is do a pre-diabetes risk assessment test. We're going to do it together. You do not have to share your numbers. I just want you to see how quick, simple, and easy it is for you to just assess yourself right where you are, no matter where you are at any point in your life, to see where you fall on that scale of being at risk for prediabetes and diabetes. So right here, what you see is a brief assessment test that you can take just to, again, check out what your risk factors are right now at this very moment. My apologies, really quick. I just want to check, could everybody see that on their screen? If you could say yes or no in the comment section, please confirm if you can see it or not.
I can see it, Michelle.
Okay. Just want to check before we dive in. Okay. So with this test on here, this test was created, my apologies, was created by the CDC in partnership with the ADA. So that's the American Diabetes Association. And this test we use broadly in the community when we're meeting with folks in different areas. And we just quickly ask them these questions, and we are doing this to teach them how to assess themselves. So the first question is, how old are you? And based on your age, underneath you'll see it give you some different options. And based on that age group, it is a point associated with it. So say, for instance, myself, I am 35. Yeah, I'm 35. I'm 35 years old. So I would get 0 points. And I'll write that 0 right in that green box next to that question there. So 0 for me. And then it says, am I a man or woman? I would select woman. So again, that's 0 points. If you are a woman, have you ever been diagnosed with gestational diabetes? I would select no, so 0 points. Do you have a mother, father, sister, or brother with diabetes? I would select yes, so I would get 1 point. Have you ever been diagnosed with high blood pressure? I would select no, so 0 points. Are you physically active? Not as much as I should be, but yes. So I would get 0, but really I should get moving more. And then the next one is, what is your weight category? Now, I will not tell you all my weight on here, but I do know I will get points for this category. All right. So based on this and how you line up with your points, I'll bring up really quick. That can stay up on the screen, but I just want to let you know, based on those points and where you fall, it will tell you whether or not you are at higher risk of diabetes. And for certain groups, like for instance, certain minority groups, they are at higher risk of diabetes than others. And we have a link, I believe, that will pop on the screen or that will be in the comment section that lets you know if you're at higher risk with more other factors. But if you scored higher than 5, like say if you're doing this now and you score it higher than 5, that means you're at an increased risk of developing type 2 or getting prediabetes and then eventually getting type 2 diabetes. And for myself, I know I score more than 5. So that means I'm always mindful of, hey, what is my activity level? What am I putting in my body? As far as food, but also on my body, making sure I'm getting the right things, being mindful of my carbohydrate intake. So without going too much into that, I just wanted to briefly show you guys this test and how easy it is to do. It took a little longer because I wanted to kind of explain each one, but you can literally do this at any point. And again, that link is on your screen. This will also be made available in our resource section on our website. So you guys can refer to that at a later time.
Okay. And whether you're managing type 1 diabetes or you find yourself at higher risk for prediabetes or type 2, so you want to try to prevent that, we are right around the corner from all these holidays. We're inundated with food. It's very easy to overdo it and overeat. And typically the types of foods that are available are not so diabetes friendly. Thank you so much, everybody, for reaching out too and commenting. Someone had asked if this was good for PCOS, which, there is no diabetic diet. It's just really a lifestyle way of eating with plenty of fruits and vegetables and whole grains and lean meats and sources of calcium like dairy, but just in appropriate serving sizes and keeping track of not overdoing it with those sugars and carbs and things like that. So there is no true diabetic diet, and the recipes we're featuring today aren't part of any special diet per se, but they're healthy for everybody and anybody, and they would be good for your whole family. So diabetes or not, I think these are good options for families and folks that just want to eat a little healthier, and maybe if they find themselves at high risk, then it's a way that they can try to help prevent diabetes at the same time.
Yes. So, and just we're keeping in mind across the board, just prevention. So whether you have it or not, you're a risk or not, you just want to be mindful of your carbohydrate intake because it does affect everything in your body when you have too much sugar in your system. So whether, again, just prevention, just be mindful of your sugar content and how it could creep in within any food that you have, really. And we'll go more into that without giving away the trivia. So you guys stay tuned. We have some good trivia coming up for you guys so you can win some great gadgets and some gift cards to support your holiday meals. Yeah.
All right, so let's travel over to my kitchen and I'm going to show you our first recipe of the night. Hey everybody, so it's time to whip up a couple new recipes. These are great ideas for the upcoming holiday season or just any time. We're going to start with what is called a charcuterie board. So a little bit of vocabulary for today's lesson. Charcuterie is just kind of like a platter of foods that you can grab and snack on so you're not grabbing junk food and stuff like that. So I found this charcuterie board at Aldi, already ready to go. So the easiest thing to do would just be to open this guy up, and it's in a relatively nice container. Just put this out on my table for guests to snack on while they're waiting for dinner. Or if you are the person who's in charge of making a lot of the food for a family dinner or any dinner, it's a good idea not to snack too much on chips and sweets and things like that. So these are really good low carb options. Got a lot of different food groups here. Or you can make your own. And what I decided to do was kind of pull from my pantry. I found these grapes at Aldi. There's 3 different kinds in here, which is awesome. And then I've just rinsed those off simply. And you can leave them on the stems. I think they look a lot nicer that way. And they look very official. And you know, there's nothing wrong with making a platter like this for yourself too, so that when you're cooking, you have some nice things to kind of grab and snack on. So there's some color that I've added there, some fruit. Now, grapes aren't necessarily low carbs, so don't overdo it with that. But another nice addition is some dried fruit. So you can put a little bit of dried fruit on this platter too. You know, whatever appeals to you, whatever you have laying around. Most of this stuff just makes it look so nice and adds a lot of color. But again, dried fruit is particularly higher in sugar, so don't overdo it on that. Almonds are a great snack. They're loaded with vitamin E, and they fill you up. So to add something like that to your charcuterie board is a good idea, because what we're looking for here are sources of protein primarily. You need a little bit of carbohydrate in there to keep your energy level up. But while you're cooking, you know, just having protein sources on hand that you can kind of grab should keep you from munching on the not so healthy stuff. So another thing I found at Aldi were these fabulous cheeses. And so again, whatever appeals to you. This is a Jarlsberg cheese. It's a little softer of a cheese. And then I've got a Parmesan here, which you're probably familiar with, maybe putting on pasta or something like that. But these nice cheeses are, again, great additions and good sources of protein for this charcuterie board. So you could just take some of this and cut small pieces and kind of put them on there for munching, just to give you kind of an idea here. So add some of your own cheeses. I won't make you watch the whole process, but if you can just add some little cheese on there to go with the crackers or with the grapes. For another nut, we're going to be using these pecan halves for a recipe a little later. This is probably the most expensive ingredient that I'm using today. And so in order to use up this bag and not have it go bad, this is something that you're going to use for the recipe later, but you can add something like this to your charcuterie board too. So just another type of nut. Now, obviously, watch out if you have people that have nut allergies. Maybe this isn't something that would go out on the table for the crowd. But hopefully you're getting the idea here. So lots of good protein, some fruit in there. And then we're going to add some chocolate. This is dark chocolate. So this is not milk chocolate with a lot of sugar added. This is just some heart-healthy dark chocolate. And I found these at Aldi as well. So these are nice little sweet bites. So it's not like you're eating the whole thing. And like I said, don't be afraid to play around with it and kind of make this look really nice. And you can even cheat by moving a lot of these things to this board too. But the object here is to have this nearby so that when you're preparing your other recipes for your guests or for your family, you have a little something to snack on that's relatively low carb. Charcuterie.
I cannot say that word. I don't know about you guys. So I told her, I'm just going to say protein platter.
That'll work. And there is no recipe listed for you guys for that, because it's really up to you what you already have on hand. The object, like I said, is not to go out and buy a bunch of ingredients for something like that, but just pull together mostly protein things that you have already. So, you know, if you're in charge of making these meals, you're not going to want to spend the time to like make a breakfast and a lunch, but you still need foods on hand to keep your energy level up. And so that's just part of appetite control and keeping your blood sugar nice and stable throughout the day, is that charcuterie board or protein platter. I believe we're going to move on to the next recipe, but before that, it is trivia time.
Yeah, trivia time. And if you want, yeah, if you guys want to put in, we want to engage with you guys. So although we're not in person, we still like to engage with you all. So as you see the recipes, or if you, for right now with the charcuterie board, if you guys want to put in the comment section things that you have in your house right now, you would use to make your own protein platters / charcuterie board. I'm going to have to say this for a little bit until I get it. So that way you have some snacks in advance of your meal that you can snack on throughout the day, and you will rely less on the higher carb filled foods, if you will. So it is now, again, trivia time. So shortly you'll see the question pop up. And so we'll give you guys a little bit of time, not too much time, because we don't want you guys Googling it. Let us know what you believe, or what is the actual temperature your turkey need to reach internally so that it is safe enough for you and your family to eat. So I've been looking at the side at my computer, looking at your responses. So whoever answers it first is the winner. And we have some great raffle prizes. Okay. So I'm looking. Some people are putting what they'll put on their charcuterie board. I see I love dark chocolate. So do I. Mm-hmm. Strawberries. She said I can't spell it. No worries. I'm talking on my phone with charcuterie. I see Mary Lee put 165. Anybody else? 165. And I also see Mary Lee as a top fan. Hi, Mary. 175, 160.
All right, they're all in the neighborhood.
Yeah. All right, I'll give you guys like 10 more seconds. 10 more seconds. Let's see who won this one.
Got a few more 175s.
Okay.
It's pretty hot. That's a hint.
All right.
And this is important because, turkey contains some bacteria that you're just wanting to get it hot enough where it kills that bacteria so it doesn't make anybody sick.
Yes.
Good idea to have a thermometer on hand.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Kelly. The thermometer is key to have. I'm big on eyeballing things, but when it comes to meat, you do not want to eyeball that. Yeah, and everyone's heating element cooks the meat product differently. So you have to use, just to be safe, you have to use a thermometer. Okay, so I think it's time to call it. Drum roll. The correct answer is
165.
165. So the winner of this one is
Mary Lee. I think this is the first one. Nice. Look at that.
I like it. So I'll reach out to you. I have your contact information. I'll reach out to you, and we'll actually get it to you tomorrow. All right. So stay by your phone or your Facebook message, and I'll get in contact with you. So right now you will enter into my world, into my kitchen in a safe manner at a distance. We're going to look at how we are preparing a unique turkey this year. Hey guys, so we are going to switch things up this year for Thanksgiving. Usually folks put the turkey in the roaster or the oven. In the past, I say about 4 or 5 years, folks have really been doing more of deep frying turkeys. This year, we're going to do it in a safe manner and use a Ninja air fryer. So over here, we have a 3-pounder. A 3-pounder, and it's a butterball. It's no cavity within this bird here. It will be in a net. We're going to keep that inside the net. So that way, when it's cooking inside the air fryer, it does not fall apart. And then took it out and I pat it dry with some paper towels all the way around, so that way the seasoning and butter can stick to the bird. So we're going to dive in and we'll start to season it up and then go through that process, get it in, and I can't wait to see the end result. Okay, so we're going to start by seasoning the bird really, really well. So it just so happened Country Crock has created a plant-based butter. And so we're going to use that this year for our Thanksgiving meals. Okay, plant-based butter with some olive oil, and it literally breaks down the ingredients, the different type of plants and oils that it has in here to create this butter. So first time using plant-based butter, let's see how it tastes on the turkey. So we're going to create what is called a compound butter, and it basically means that we're going to, in addition to the butter, include all of these different ingredients, these spices, these herbs, and some minced garlic in with the butter. And we're going to combine it all together. And that's what makes a compound butter. We're going to use about 4 to 5 tablespoons of this butter. And then we will start adding in all of our seasonings. All right. So we won't pour this in the butter because it's enough sodium already in there. What we want to do is layer the flavors, like I always say with any of our recipes. So we'll sprinkle a bit of this kosher salt on the turkey, turn it around, get a little bit on there. Now it looks like I'm pouring a lot, but I'm really not. These things are pretty coarse, so I'm letting a little bit drop all over the bird. I'll sprinkle a little this multicolored peppercorn. So the garlic, let's give it a nice little, not too garlicky, but a nice little amount. I don't do a lot of measuring when it comes to my seasonings. It is what speaks to me, so I just go with what feels right. This is a Audi version of Mrs. Dash, and it is if you can see that, salt-free seasoning blend. It's a lot of great ingredients in here, and anytime I do a turkey or a chicken, I want to make sure I can put as much flavor in that turkey or chicken as possible without depending so much on salt. Just a sprinkle of salt, not too much. So I like to really get a lot of other spices in there, so that way I can reduce my sodium intake. That's some garlic powder there, some minced onion, and then I use Italian herbal seasoning with everything. So originally this recipe called for thyme and I believe it was rosemary and sage, but with this Italian herb blend, you got marjoram again, oregano, thyme, rosemary, savory, basil, and sage. Now that we have that, it smells amazing already without me even mixing anything up. But we're going to take all of that seasoning that we just put on there, going to just mix it all up to make a compound butter. Now I'm actually going to take this and pop it in the microwave for about 30 seconds so it can melt. And then I'm going to pour it on top of the turkey. I normally, with a big turkey, I normally just take this with my hands, massage the bird all over, put it within the internal, the cavity within the bird, and just lift up the skin and everything and get it in there. But because this is a butterball turkey, is no cavity, is no way for me to lift it up without messing up the mesh. I'm going to melt it so I can pour it all over, front, back, side to side, and then find the opening and just pour the rest of it in there without me having to touch the bird and then potentially contaminating my workspace. Okay, so I found my handy dandy brush, and we're just going to just make sure, see all that liquid there? I want to make sure it gets all around the turkey. All right, so we're now going to transfer this to the air fryer. We're going to put this in here at 375. We're going to start it, and let's see, put the timer up to 40 minutes. Okay, and then about halfway through, there we go. About halfway through, I'll rotate it and let the other side cook. Again, that little part is in there, so it should cook evenly. But I'm just used to kind of rotating the turkey or, basting it and things of that nature. So 40 minutes in here. We set it and forget it, very similar to a crock pot, but it cooks in a fraction of the time. Okay, guys, so we are back to check if the temperature is at 165. Oh, that sizzle. Sounds amazing. Now, let's see. We'll again get to the thickest part of the meat. It's actually nearing 170. Just hit 170. I'm going to put it in a different part of the turkey just to be sure. Look like it's going closer to 175, 176 at this point. So we are good to go. So the next part will be that I need to remove this netting from off of the turkey, and then we'll cut into it. So I'll give it a few minutes to rest and cool down, and then I'll pull that out and we'll cut into it so you can see how it looks on the inside. All right, so we have let the turkey sit for about 5 minutes to cool down a little bit. I also took off the netting, so it actually leaves some cool ingrained marks on the skin. So now we're just about to cut into it. Oh, look at that. You see that? Look at that. You see the juice popping out? You want to get closer? Get closer so they can see really, really close. And you can see the juice popping out. You see that little stream? That lets you know that this turkey is moist. I'm gonna cut some more in there. I don't think I'll ever make turkey again in the oven as long as my air fryer is working. And they do have bigger sizes. So if you have a bigger turkey or whatever you have, ham or something like that, it just might be the way to go. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this one. The pack did come with, or the butterball turkey did come with a pack of gravy that you can make. Usually people use the gravy. It's great taste with the gravy, but you don't even need gravy with all the juices that have come out of this turkey. And the flavor, I'm sure, I didn't taste it, but I'm sure it tastes amazing because we smelled it the entire time in the house that it was cooking. But if you choose to use gravy, feel free. Just be mindful that it might have some carbs in there because the base of the gravy is flour. So just be mindful of the amount that you use. 2 tablespoons spread out on your turkey will be enough if you want to remain diabetes friendly with the meal alternative. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that. I enjoyed creating it. And I look forward to seeing how you made your family's main dish for the holidays this year. All right. All right. So there you have it. First time I ever made air fried turkey. Did not know how it was going to work out, but I really surprised myself. And it was just as moist as it looked. I know some people don't like that word moist. I just remember that, but it was good. It wasn't dry. How about that? It wasn't dry. And some people responded that they're going to make it the old fashioned traditional way of doing it. Nothing wrong with that. Let's see, Cornish hens, air fried. That is different. I'm gonna have to try that also. I'm gonna use this air fryer a lot more. Oh, she said it looks delicious. An air fryer may be under the Christmas tree this year. I love it. All right.
So you win one.
That is one of the raffle prizes. So you guys be sure to continue to engage. Joyce said, hi, Joyce. Hi, Joyce. She said they are roasting a duck. I need a picture of that, Joyce. I need a picture of that.
Yes,
whether you want to text it to me or put it in our wellness for you. We need to see the roasted duck, and I need to taste it, but when it's safer to do so.
What's great about that recipe too is it's a smaller portion. I mean, for those of you that are saying that your turkey is going to be too big for something like an air fryer, I mean, understandably, the holidays might look a lot different the next couple months, and maybe you don't have as large of a crowd as usual. So it's okay to make a smaller version of something too. And all the recipes that we're showing today are like for 6 people, maybe 6 to 8 people. So it's not for like a giant crowd, which sometimes is a barrier for some people because they still want to enjoy their foods, but they have to make this big batch of it and then they overeat it. So, so I guess that brings us to our next recipe. It's a commonly consumed thing around this time of year, and it is not necessarily low carb, but we do have a trivia question before we go back to my kitchen. So we're talking about like this protein platter, and the turkey is almost pure protein. So it's there's like not a very much amount of sugar involved.
Mhm.
Does that mean, or is that because people with diabetes can't eat sugar? What do you think? You can use your chat feature and let us know. Can people with diabetes eat sugar? I mean, we're talking all about low sugar, low carb.
Mhm.
So that must mean that they can't have it, right?
Yeah, let's see what we get in the comments section. And maybe your yes or no and the reason why you think that is without, being a full essay.
You don't get points for like 500 words or anything.
Yeah, no.
All right, we're getting a lot of yeses in minimal amounts. Thank you for that. Because we're going to move on to a recipe that is a natural source of sugar, which are sweet potatoes. But they're still a healthy food. Lots of fiber and vitamin A in those sweet potatoes. But I could see where someone with diabetes or at risk of diabetes thinks, well, I can't have any of that. That's too high in sugar, right? But it looks like you guys are on the right track. Yes, people with diabetes and at risk for diabetes can have sugar, but it's ideal if it comes from its natural sources, things like starchy vegetables and fruits and dairy products. So, when we throw around the word sugar and the fact that you should cut back, we're really talking about the added sugar, all of the extra sugar that's out there. But, something like sweet potatoes is great. So what we're going to show you is a more portion controlled way to eat these sweet potatoes. So let's go back upstairs to my kitchen. Okay, we're still cooking. You may notice that my daughter and I are making good use of this charcuterie board, and we're kind of munching on these healthier things while we're cooking. And one thing I forgot to mention is try not to drink all your calories and your sugar too. Like there's some really nice carbonated waters on the market. Again, another Aldi thing that you can pick up, and it's kind of festive and refreshing. So stick with water if you can, stay hydrated. Cooking's hard work. What we're going to make now is called sweet potato bites. Traditionally around this time of year, we have some kind of sweet potato dish. Usually it's loaded with butter and sugar and some other things. So I'm just going to show you a version today that is still a little high carb, but is a little more diabetes friendly because it's portion control. So the ingredients are very simple. We have sweet potatoes, pecans, marshmallows, and some 100% maple syrup, and then a little bit of butter. And so it's, traditional ingredients that you see in sweet potatoes all the time. But again, we're just going to make them a little more portion control. So I bought the 3-pound bag of sweet potatoes, and I thought that was a good way to go because they're a nice size. You can get kind of even rounds with a smaller sweet potato as opposed to going with those giant ones. So you just want to make sure you wash them off really well. Now the recipe says to peel these, but I like to leave the peels on because there's a lot of good fiber and nutrition in here. But I just use my handy dandy vegetable scrubber mitt, and I kind of scrub as much dirt as I can off of these. So once they're rinsed, then you're just going to cut them into rounds. And I just cut the ends off. And then the recipe calls for 1/4-inch rounds, but just like a nice size round. Keep your fingers curled in so that you don't have any problems. And this is going to be a job for a grown-up. So the kiddos can help put all the little additions on, but let your grown-up in the house do the cutting, because sweet potatoes especially are very hard, as you can see, and a little more difficult to cut. So again, some nice little rounds. I'm just going to put those in a big mixing bowl. Okay. So the next ingredient is butter. It's 2 tablespoons of butter melted. So I just melted my 2 tablespoons in the microwave. Real simple. Add some butter. And then we're also adding the maple syrup at this time. Now, this is pure 100% maple syrup, and this was not cheap, but I use this in a lot of recipes that call for this. This is a more natural product than maybe like a corn syrup or a commercial, something that's called maple syrup, but is not 100% maple syrup. So that's just adding a little bit of that maple flavor. Sweet potatoes don't need a lot of sweet added. And we are going to add marshmallow too. So just keep that in mind. You don't need a lot, but it's just to give it that maple flavor to make it more, I think, more festive. But you just kind of toss that around in here so that it is coating all the rounds. And this is something the kids could do. Make sure each one's coated real nice. And then take a baking sheet. And I've covered mine so that it's easier cleanup later on. But easy, all you have to do is just kind of spread them out on the sheet. Well, you can actually make it nice and easy. Spread them out so that they're flat and then they're not overlapping. And you want to be able to get to each one because after they're cooked, we're going to add some fun stuff. So there are the sweet potato bites. Sweet potatoes are an excellent source of vitamin A. They're a great addition to any meal, even, holidays or anytime. But we tend to like add a lot of stuff to these. So I hope you're pleasantly surprised at this simpler version of these. So we're just putting them in an oven. I've already preheated this for 400 degrees. They should probably go in the center. And the good thing about this too is it's in a nice flat pan, so it's not going to take up a lot of room. But there we go. And we're going to put them in there for about 20 minutes. Okay, so I just took our sweet potatoes out of the oven. The recipe says that after the first 10 minutes, you want to just flip them over and then let them finish out an additional 10 minutes on the other side. So that's what we did. Then what I'm going to do is shut my bake off and turn my broiler on. And then the next step is putting a half a marshmallow on each of these rounds. Now, the original recipe did say 1 marshmallow per, and I thought that was a little overkill. So what we're going to do is put these marshmallow halves on here. And I wanted to show what a great little project this is. Like if you have kids helping you, a really easy way to cut these in half, kind of fun, is just use kitchen scissors. And they cut them in half and it's perfect. So we're going to continue putting these marshmallows on here and then stick them under the broiler for just a few minutes until they get nice and bubbly. Okay, so the sweet potato bites are done. After they were under the broiler for probably just 30 seconds, really, the marshmallows really started to puff up and brown really nice. So we took them out of the oven and my daughter helped me put a pecan half on each bite. So again, another good thing for the kids to help out with. I mean, be careful because the pan was really hot, but you're putting a pecan half on each of these and look at how cute they look. These are good serving sizes or portion sizes. And in addition to the lovely sweet potato, you're getting a little bit of protein in that pecan too. Fun.
Yes.
It's so fun to make those. I'm interested to know, and you can use the chat box for this, if your family calls those sweet potatoes or if they call them yams, because my understanding is that it depends on where that is grown. But I mean, those terms are used interchangeably all the time. And my family just calls them sweet potatoes. But, I've had people be like, oh, you mean yams? So just let us know what your family calls them around this time of year.
And I definitely think you have a point there as far as where it's grown, because based on where we've lived, certain people in different parts of the U.S. and in other countries, they call it, sweet potatoes versus yam. And it is like some science behind it. I don't know off the top of my head, but it is some science behind it to differentiate between sweet potatoes and yams. And it's a lot of different varieties, which is a beautiful thing to see. So let's see what they say.
All right, we're getting a lot of sweet
potatoes. They call them
potatoes.
sweet potatoes. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like we always say, I mean, send in your pictures too. Check out our Facebook page every once in a while because we're always putting good stuff up there. And We'd love to see pictures if you've made these recipes or other recipes.
Yeah, definitely show us how you make sweet potatoes in a different way than, just the old school way of making sweet potatoes. How else do you use them? Like, for instance, I literally used to pop them in the microwave and have them as a side dish. Asian sweet potatoes are really, really naturally sweet, where you do not need any brown sugar or anything added to sweeten it. So depending on where you are, you might have a different experience with sweet potatoes or yams, whatever you call it.
Right.
All right. So we're going to transition to the next trivia. Love trivia because I love giving gifts. All right. So what low carb ingredient can you use in place of pasta or potatoes? So what would you use, or do you use, to swap out pasta or potatoes in traditional meals, holiday meals or your everyday meals?
Yeah, because when we were talking about like those added sugars versus the more natural sugars, bread products like pasta and then white potatoes, they contain a lot of starch, and that's carbohydrate. But those are still healthy foods. But there are a lot of products on the market right now that use another ingredient, and delicious pasta and potatoes.
Yeah.
What do you think
Yeah.
that they're using out there?
Well, I'm seeing some flour. Excellent. Excellent.
All right, we're getting some
All right.
responses.
Some people substitute sweet potato for Idaho potatoes. Okay. They bake up beautifully and they add salt and pepper. Nice, Miss Brenda. You can use cauliflower for replacement. Zucchini. My mother loves zucchini. I was telling Kelly that earlier. Her and Madison, zucchini. And it's another one she loves. I'm just seeing if it's going to pop in there.
I just talked to a patient today about making lasagna with zucchini, strips of zucchini instead of pasta. So yeah, zucchini definitely counts there.
Zucchini. And you know what? I'll tell you another replacement for that I don't want to give any answers away, but it's another replacement that people use in place of zucchini for lasagna. Spinach noodles, yum. I've had that before. Aldi sell that, by the way. Some spinach noodles. So I think we want to keep the ball rolling. So I will add to that. There it goes. Spaghetti squash. I was waiting. Spaghetti squash. My mom loves all squash. So spaghetti squash, she was the first one that taught me. Eggplant. Yes, Joyce. So Kelly, that's the one that people also use in place of the regular pasta for lasagna. They use eggplant.
Right. Big strips. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all good ideas. These are all good ideas because they're vegetables, so they're plant-based, but they're lower in carbohydrate if you're having to watch.
Yeah. So just really quick, now that you guys said that, we're going to get into this video, and the video that we're going to show uses, the next two videos actually, uses cauliflower as its base in place of the traditional pasta or potatoes that you would use. And just a little fun fact to put things into perspective, the net carb within a cauliflower, net carb, that's after you subtract, the fiber, what's in the cauliflower is only 3 grams per 1 cup serving for cauliflower. When you compare that to 1 cup of elbow noodles, now it will vary based on if it's, white, brown, or other variations of white and brown. On average, it's 70 grams of carb per cup. So you could use all of your carbohydrates allotted for your meal on 1 cup of elbow pasta noodles, just to enjoy some elbow pasta noodles, or could you enjoy that same dish by replacing it with something like a cauliflower, which is only 3 grams, right? So 3 grams or 70 grams, that's a big difference. And that's why we want to show you some ways of using cauliflower in place of the traditional elbow noodles or potatoes to make your favorite holiday meals. All right, so let's get into it. So you can take a look how we revamp this. Hey guys, so we're moving on to the next recipe, and it is cauliflower macaroni and cheese. Macaroni and cheese has been my all-time favorite since I was a little girl. So this dish really had to sell me in order for me to say, okay, it's a decent alternative to one of my favorite meals. And that was one of the first things I learned how to make as a little girl with my mom. So with cauliflower, and we're going to use cauliflower in place of the elbow noodles because it is a diabetes friendly, healthy alternative to your regular traditional elbow noodles, whether it's white pasta or it's whole wheat pasta. The carbohydrates is higher in those elbow pasta noodles than it is with the cauliflower. So in this pan right here, we have some butter melted. I will add I have a tablespoon of butter in there. I will add just a little scoop of some coconut oil. All right. And this is going to start my cheese sauce. So after you add your oil, whatever it is, I do 1 tablespoon of butter, about a tablespoon of coconut oil. And then I add to that my coconut flour. And I use coconut flour in place of white flour. I switched out a lot in my ingredients. Instead of using white rice, white pasta, white flour, I use things like coconut flour or almond flour. What happened with the flour, when it hit the oil, it turned into these little balls of like little balls of semi-moist flour. And now, after cooking it a little bit to kind of cook off that flour taste, now I'm going to add to this my heavy whipping cream, okay? And you want to constantly stir as you slowly pour in the heavy whipping cream. I already preheated the oven on 400. And right now, I have this measured out at 2 cups for the milk for the heavy cream, but I haven't poured it all in yet. So now I'm going to let that come to a little simmer. Turn that back up a bit. I have 2 different cheeses. I have a mixture of cheese because macaroni and cheese, I told you, is my favorite. In this cheese pack, I have mozzarella. This is low part skim mozzarella, provolone, Parmesan, Romano, Fontina, and Asiago cheese. And then this cheese is the regular cheddar cheese. And it's only 1 cheese in here, but I love the texture that Velveeta gives me when I have anything with macaroni and cheese. I'm only going to use half of these 2, and I'll show you why. If you want to come and look at the food label, when you are looking for things and when you're preparing your food and you're looking for things that are diabetes friendly, you want to be mindful of your carbohydrates right here on the food label. And for a 1/4 cup of this specific cheese is 4 grams of carbohydrate. And for this cheese, a 1/4 cup, it is 2 grams of carbohydrate. So I'm not going to use all this whole bag. I'm going to use about 8 ounces. So that makes about a cup, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. So basically a half a bag of each. So here you see a nice bubble going. To that, I'm going to add me some seasoning. I have some garlic powder. So I'm going to put a little flavor in here. So far, I haven't put anything in there with salt. This is cracked black pepper. And now I'm going to add a little bit of kosher salt, not too much. You don't need a lot because, again, the cheese will have some sodium in there. All right, stir that up. And now with it being a nice little boil, I'm actually going to turn this all the way off. And to this, I'm going to add the cheese. And the reason why I turned it off before I add the cheese is because you do not want to scorch your cheese. There we go. The fun thing about, as always with cooking, you get to do some experiments. And so you see what you like, you see what you don't like, see how it looks when you incorporate it all together, make some adjustments. You see the consistency with the cheese is already starting to thicken as soon as I added it in here. Look at that. You see that cheese sauce? Look at that. That is what you want. So now to this, we're going to add our cauliflower. This was 1 full head of cauliflower, and I just chopped it up. And I put it in a pot to boil, and I let it boil for like 6 minutes, just like you would do with elbow noodles. And then once it was done, I drained it. I let it sit, cool down for a bit. And now I'm going to just dump it in here and kind of fold it. Look at that. It's already some nice ooey gooey goodness. And the reason why I'm folding and not stirring, like any great cooks know, or just folks that's been in the kitchen for a while, you know that if you stir instead of folding when it's things like this, such as cauliflower or your elbow noodles, you will create a big mush. Okay, so now we're going to transfer it to our baking dish. So now I'm just going to kind of spread it out a bit, and some more, just to top it off, some more cheeses, nice little sprinkle. Some more of this, I think it was a 7 cheese mixture, if I wasn't mistaken, 7 or 6. Uh-oh. 7 cheeses. We're going to pop this into the oven, again at 400 degrees, for 15 to 20 minutes. It depends on your oven. And I'll come back to you guys at that point. Let's get it in so we could then enjoy it. All right, guys, welcome back. So now it has been about 5 minutes, and as you can see, it's cooled down, and the cheese and all the other ingredients have settled. I'm going to get my all-time test taster, my firstborn, my son, Larry, because he will be completely honest with me and let me know what he thinks about this cauliflower macaroni and cheese. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and taste it. Okay, you taste it. Tell us what you think. Hot. Hot. Is there any flavor at all?
This is really good.
Really good?
Yeah. Honestly, this tastes a little bit better
Really?
than the regular mac and cheese.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it the flavor, the consistency? What is it? What you think it is?
Yeah, I think it's both of those.
Okay. Well, we have a winner, guys. Cauliflower macaroni and cheese it is for this Thanksgiving over at the Wilcox houses. All right.
Amazing.
That was another one that shocked me. I've only ever made it in the microwave or on top of the stove, so it turned out really well. And I did not pay him to say that. That was his honest opinion. We didn't re-record that. He really enjoyed it. And I would say just this, an insider tip. When you think about elbow pasta noodles, it has no flavor. So that's why you have to season it a lot, right? So because it has no flavor, you give it the flavor that you want it to have. So what does that tell you? You could take out the elbow noodles because they do not provide anything but a whole bunch of more carbohydrates, which, converts into sugar in your body, and replace it with something like cauliflower, whatever else you want to substitute that's lower in carb, because those also take on the flavor that you give it. So this is the way that I trick my mind to be satisfied with things that I didn't traditionally grow up with. Hey, I give it the flavor that I want it to have, and it tastes amazing. So the cheese give it the flavor, all the seasonings give it the flavor, that whether you do a milk or something that's not a dairy product, like an almond, I use heavy whipping cream, I think, but you can use an almond milk, whatever it is, and you give it the flavor. So you do not have to depend on elbow pasta noodles to enjoy a traditional meal, or potatoes to enjoy a traditional meal that you might have grown up with.
That's a really good point. Mary's asking if you sprayed the dish first to keep it from sticky.
Great question. So the dish itself is one of those non-stick oven pans, if you will. I don't know the techie term, but it's a pan that's designed for you to just pour it in there and not worry about it. But what also caused it not to stick is because, remember, we had butter and we had coconut oil. So that was already incorporated in the roux. So when it bakes, that provides an extra layer of it to not stick to the pan.
Yeah. All right. So we're all going to have mashed potatoes with that air fried turkey, right? But is there a way that you can cut down the carbohydrate with something like that? The answer is yes. So let's go to the next video and check that out.
Okay, I'm back with yet another recipe. Now, you may have noticed that I've been talking about carbs a lot, and this is because it is Diabetes Awareness Month. And what we wanted to show you were some lower carb versions of the foods that we traditionally eat around this time. And you may have already seen a lot of products on the market that are cauliflower based, things like pizza crusts and like riced cauliflower or even mashed cauliflower. So I thought I'd show you how to do that at home because it's super simple. Now this is just one of 2 heads of cauliflower that I purchased. I washed it and I cut all the green parts off, and now I'm just kind of tearing it into tiny, or not super tiny, but just smaller little pieces so that they boil faster. And what we're going to do is put these in a giant pot of boiling water on the stovetop. It's already ready to go. And these are going to stay in here for probably 10 minutes or until they're nice and soft. They're going to have to be nice and soft to get that nice, smooth, mashed kind of effect. Also, if you're doing all of this at once, it is now time to flip our sweet potatoes. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll be right back. Okay. We're in the final stretch here. Now, this cauliflower was on my stovetop in boiling water for about 10 minutes, which worked perfectly with the sweet potato bites because after I flipped those, I had 10 minutes to wait. So this did its thing, and you can see it's already like really mashed up. I was poking it a lot with my spoon while it was in the pot just to see how soft it was getting. But I transferred it to this nice big mixing bowl, and you can see it's like super hot. Now, one thing you might consider is after you've drained it in the sink to even use like a paper towel or something and kind of squeeze as much water out as you can, just so it's not super watery because you want it to be more like a mashed potato texture. Now, the only other ingredients here are a cream cheese, some milk, and then salt and pepper. But I wanted to show you guys there's cream cheese and then there's this. And here's another vocabulary word for you today. This is Neufchâtel cheese. And it's usually right near the cream cheese. It usually costs exactly the same, but this has less fat and less calories. And it's just something to consider. You know, you could be real fancy about it. And if someone asks what's in this mashed cauliflower, you can say, oh, it's not just cream cheese, it's Neufchâtel cheese. But it calls for about 6 ounces for the 2 heads of cauliflower. And this is 8. So I'm just going to cut the additional 2 off of there. I mean, you can put the whole thing in too if you want it like extra creamy. But we're only putting cream cheese in there. And then about a teaspoon of salt. Now, I traditionally don't add salt if I don't have to, but for something like this, I would, just to give it a little bit of that flavor. Always measure not over the bowl in case there's an accident. So that's only about a teaspoon. And again, I mean, this is going to serve 6 to 8 people. So a teaspoon among 6 to 8 people isn't too bad. And then I'm going to put some fresh ground pepper in here. And your guests or your family can always add more. But that's it. So let me just chunk this up a little bit. Now this Neufchâtel cheese has been sitting out not too long because for food safety reasons, you don't want it sitting out all day, but it's been sitting out long enough where it's pretty soft. So then you're just using about 1/3 cup of milk and pour a little bit in at a time because the object here is to just start mashing this with this lovely potato masher until you get the texture and consistency that you're looking for. And me and my daughter are really looking forward to trying this. But that cream cheese or that cheese is going to give it a little bit more of a creamy texture because, you know, cauliflower is mostly water. But this is an example of something that is like almost 0 carbs. And it's a great source of vitamin C. And it's still a vegetable, but it's a non-starchy vegetable. So this is mashed cauliflower. Now, get a little bit of a workout here. And if you don't have a potato masher, I mean, any sturdy spoon will work. Sometimes 2 forks will work. All right, I don't think we're gonna need to add any more milk. So mine just needed like a little drizzle there. Okay, that's pretty mashed, but I mean, you could keep going. Just keep going until there's no lumps left. And then I'm going to transfer it into this bowl just for presentation. So, you know, the next time you have a family dinner and it calls for mashed potatoes or it's something you want to have on the side, consider making a mashed cauliflower instead. It's on a lot of menus right now. And then if you don't have fresh chives, you can always use a little bit of dried chives just as a little garnish or to have available for people to add. You can add a little bit more butter, salt, pepper, whatever to taste. But yeah, that is it. So you got your low carb mashed cauliflower.
That was a workout, Kelly.
Right? My Fitbit was like thinking I was running around or something, but that was delicious, by the way. I honestly have not had that until I made it the other night. And it was great. And my daughter loved it. So yeah, that's going to be like a regular staple. And I didn't mention this. I mean, I did buy fresh cauliflower, and your recipe called for cauliflower too. So, you know, if it's something that's on sale or something, then by all means you could buy fresh, but frozen would probably work just as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you have a bag of frozen cauliflower in your freezer and don't have any plans for it and want to turn it into mashed cauliflower, you know, and I'm glad you brought up the point that, you know, it doesn't taste like much. So adding that salt, adding that pepper is okay because you want it to be palatable. You don't want people to be like, this is terrible. I'm never eating this again. So if you got to add a little bit of something to flavor it up, that's okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. So you guys can put in the chat if there's something that you use, just something we haven't even thought of to make mashed potatoes that is not cauliflower, it's not potatoes. I don't even know what you would use in place of like some type of sweet potato, regular potato, or cauliflower. So I like learning new things and I like trying new food. So if it's something that you have made a traditional meal like a mashed potato, but you use something unorthodox, feel free to respond. But while we're waiting for those responses, I would love to transition into our final trivia of the night, our final trivia question. So it's trivia time. We got to have fun, right? Even at a distance. What is an ingredient in your home that you could use to sweeten your desserts without using sugar? So whether it's in your home now, or you normally have it, but you ran out or it's not available because a lot of people are shopping for the holidays, what ingredient could you use to sweeten your desserts without using the traditional table sugar or the sugar alternatives? Oh yeah, I have heard turnips. People use turnips for mashed potatoes. I have heard, I've never had them, but that is great. All right, somebody's saying honey. And Sherry, she said honey.
Oh, lots of honey. All the honey's out there.
Yeah.
Stevia plant. All right.
Oh, she has a stevia plant. That's amazing. You can do a lot with it.
Right from the source.
Yeah.
Syrup.
Syrup.
Okay. So yeah, in the sweet potato bites, we used a maple syrup. We didn't use a table sugar.
Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like you guys are thinking along the lines of like sugar substitutes, and there are a lot of them available out there. Stevia is one. You know, there's some commercial products that use stevia. Those are sugar replacers where they're still sweet, but they're low carb, usually low calorie. So they're safe for people with diabetes to use because it's not going to raise your blood sugar, but it's going to add that sweetness that you're looking for. And then things like honey, maple syrup, those are just different forms of sugar. So it's not like the white table sugar that you might have in a jar and be pouring on things or pouring in things. But just remember that things like honey, molasses, maple syrup are sugar also. So they're going to add just as much carbohydrate, just as much sugar calories as the sugar. But we're thinking about an ingredient that smells delicious and is all over the place right now, like you said, Michelle, like in a lot of recipes. And you might not think of it as sweet, but it adds a little bit of sweet. And studies are showing that it could be beneficial to help your blood sugar levels stay more stable. So do you guys have any idea what we're thinking of?
And I know some of the folks that are on here that used to be in our Wellness Wednesday program in person, we've talked about this quite a bit, so they might guess it now that we gave them a little hint. Somebody said applesauce. But let's see if somebody's going to get it. but I know, oh, somebody said they're allergic to sugar, so definitely
my.
don't.
Oh, I
There
think we have
it
a
goes.
winner.
There it goes, Miss Brenda. Cinnamon. Cinnamon was the spice. So just so you guys know, I learned, I want to say at this point, it was near a decade ago, that when you add cinnamon, just through nutrition education, cinnamon and other spices. So I'll run down a list of and some unique things you wouldn't think that will enhance the natural sugar that's in your fruits and other foods. So cinnamon is the one. It's the one that, oh, I see somebody put agave. I was waiting for somebody to say agave as well. Cinnamon is the spice that makes everything nice. I like to rhyme, so I had to say that. But it definitely adds the natural sweetness to your meal. So cinnamon and nutmeg, allspice, I think that's another one that I wrote down. Allspice is another one. That's why it adds things. That's why you add it to things like sweet potato pie, apple pie, because those are warm spices that has a property within it that enhance the natural sweetness. Now, really quick before we get into the video, I just wanted to run down a little list of non-traditional things you wouldn't think that would add sweetness to your food. So somebody mentioned unsweetened applesauce. That's absolutely right. Vanilla, that's another one that we add in there. Salt, that's why they add salt to baked dishes. It adds sweetness to your food. Now, you won't believe me when I say this, but carrots, onions, beets, and dates. You add that to your food. Last year we did Cheryl, she normally does like something with banana and oranges, and that enhances the sweetness as well. So it's a lot of things that you can add that naturally enhances the sweetness in food without adding. Certain things will add extra sugar, like a banana, applesauce, but things like carrots, it has carbohydrates in there, but it also has fiber to offset it. So just unique things you can use where you don't have to rely so much on the table sugar. And again, just trick your mind. All right, so we're going to dive in. Ms. Brenda, you won that one. Congratulations. We're going to dive into the video and show you how we make a tasty dessert for the holidays. This dessert is called apple pie in a mug. We wanted to show you guys a diabetes-friendly version of a crustless apple pie, if you will, that you can literally put it together, pop it in the microwave, and have something, whether it's for the holiday or any other time where you just need a healthier alternative, a diabetes-friendly alternative to something that's sweet, a little savory, with a nice little bite to it. So here you will see that we have a gala apple, huge gala apple. We have a half a lemon there, but I'll only use a few drops of that juice for the recipe. Some kosher salt, some coconut flour, some walnuts, and ground cinnamon and nutmeg. What I wanted to show you really quick is the carbohydrate content on the back of the these here walnuts. So you see it says total carbohydrate 4 grams, dietary fiber 2 grams. In order to get the true net carbohydrate, so the amount of carbohydrates is really in here, we want to subtract that 2 gram from 4 gram, and that leaves us with a net carb of 2 grams for a fourth a cup. We will use about a fourth a cup of walnuts in this recipe. So I just wanted to show you what the true carbohydrate content would be by adding these walnuts to the recipe. For 2 tablespoons of this coconut flour, you subtract that 5 from that 9, and that will leave you with a net carb of 4 grams for 2 tablespoons. We are only using 1 tablespoon. So in reality, that is only, did I say 4? So that's only 2 grams of carbs for this recipe that we're adding into along with this apple. So right now I'm going to skin this apple, peel all the skin off, then I will core it and chop it up, and then we'll come back, throw it all together and pop it in the microwave. All right, guys, so here you have it. We have peeled, cored, and chopped up the apples to semi common sizes or similar sizes. So that way it cooks evenly in the microwave. To that, I added a teaspoon of that plant-based butter. And now I'm just going to add the rest of these ingredients. So we have the ground cinnamon, we have coconut flour, and we have a teaspoon of brown sugar. And then we're going to do a squeeze of let's get the lemon. And then we'll do just a little sprinkle of nutmeg, not too much. Nutmeg is a very, very strong, warm spice, and it will overpower the dish if you put too much. And we'll do like a little sprinkle of salt, not too much. Going to stir this all together, and we'll pop that in the microwave for 2.5 minutes. All right, guys, so here you have it. Oh, look at that. Great steam. I only had to keep it in there for 2 minutes. My microwave cooks a bit faster. So if you could see that crispy apple, look at that. It already cooked nicely. With this, I have some roasted walnuts. So I took what was in here and I just put them on like 425 on the top rack, on top of a cookie sheet or a baking sheet. And I sprinkled some cinnamon and some nutmeg on top of it and just mixed it all up. Left it on there for 5 minutes. And now I'm going to add it to the apple. And this is a great way to include some healthy fats into your meals, as well as another source of protein. And when you have healthy fats, proteins in your dishes, you will rely less on carbohydrate-filled dishes. That means dishes filled with sugar to get full. So when you look for things to have for your dishes, protein, healthier fats, and using some of these tricks with using cinnamon to reduce the amount of sugar in your dishes. And this will add a nice crunch. All right, so I just mixed it all in there. This will provide for me a great alternative to my normal apple pie. I get, instead of a crust that's high in sugar content, I have my crunchiness from these walnuts. The apples are still in here, which is the same ingredients with an apple pies. I still have my cinnamon, my nutmeg, a little sprinkle of that nutmeg and a little bit of brown sugar versus having a whole heaping spoon brown sugar or even a cup in the regular apple pie. So this again is a great diabetes friendly alternative to your traditional apple pie dish. I hope you guys try it at home. If you do, be sure to put a picture of it on our Ones for You Facebook page with you guys making it, you guys enjoying it, your kids, your family giving you feedback. Just go and try it out and let us know what you think. And we hope that you have a healthy, happy holiday and you take care and be well. All right.
I wish I could smell that. I bet it smelled so good.
Yeah, it did. And it tastes even better. It did put me in the mind of having an apple pie because, I mean, that's for me one of my all-time desserts to have at Thanksgiving. And I normally top it with some type of apple pie ice cream, but I didn't even miss it with making that. It was very, very satisfying. And I connect that with the high protein content that's within the walnut. So you eat the right things, have fiber filled foods, protein filled foods. You won't crave so much of that sugar that you'll traditionally find in your traditional holiday meals. So hopefully you guys will try that out. Let us know what you think. I want to pass the mic to you, Kelly, because I wanted to end with one thing before we head out.
Okay. Well, I know we may have gone a little over, but we wanted to share all these recipes with you, from charcuterie board, appetizers, all the way to dessert. So hopefully you got some good ideas of what you can try this year. Maybe if not for your traditional holiday meal, but at some time in the future. And like Michelle said, put pictures, give us feedback, let us know what you thought of the recipes, and if you've made anything that maybe we can even feature in the future, that'd be great too. And Michelle, this might be what you were about to say, but I just want to say thanks again for all of the support you guys have provided over the last couple months. Like, this has been a lot of fun, and we've been challenged with going virtual and now doing these from home, but it's always a lot of fun to hear from all you guys. And so thanks for the opportunity to be able to do these classes, and hopefully everybody stays safe over this holiday. Stay home, stay safe, stay small. And yeah, happy holidays to everyone.
Yeah, and just to wrap it up, two things you've seen across the bottom of the screen. For any questions you want to discuss this more, I know a lot of people have questions about net carbs and how do you figure this out and what has the carbohydrate content in it. That is Kelly's specialty, and that's what dietitians do. So if you need to discuss that more, you want to call that number on your screen, the 216-281-0872. Schedule an appointment and then get connected with our dietitian. Kelly will take that on. I tell people all the time, she lives and breathes this. So, and she's not a finger pointing dietitian either. So she works with you, what you have in your pantry. She meets you where you are, and she helps you fully understand the picture and not just go with the trends, if you will, when it comes to things like this. So connect with Kelly to learn more about that. And on the token of staying safe, we want you guys all, as much as possible, have a normal holiday, but we want to do it at a safe distance. For instance, myself and my family, we're going to do some virtual fun through some streaming platforms. I'm looking forward to being in my pajamas all day. No apologies there. And just having a good time, but at a safe distance, so we can see you guys again come December and January timeframe, and so on and so forth. We do have a video on our Facebook page that went live on Friday. My director, along with our associate medical director, Melanie and Megan, they were on there discussing ways in which you can be safe while still enjoying your family and friends during this holiday time. So just go ahead over to our NFP Facebook page and check out that video. It's a live one very similar to this, and they give you some great insight to how you can do it without feeling like, oh, our holiday is messed up. Okay. We hope you guys be safe. You take care, stay well. We will see you guys again in December for some more great fun with a community partner. All right. And it's all about reducing your stress during this season, during the wintertime, as we get less and less sunshine outside. All right. Looking forward to that.
Keep checking out our Facebook page, because like I said, we're always adding new things. Yeah. A recording of this video today will be up on our Facebook page and on our website for you to check out later, or tell your friends, tell your family, ask them to join the Facebook page too, because we'd love to hear from everyone.
Yeah. And last but not least, the gifts, the raffles. We will be distributing them tomorrow. So stay tuned to your in-basket message. I will directly message you through Facebook. And some of you already have your phone number. So I will be calling and or texting you guys to let you know when and where you can pick up your raffle prizes for participating and for winning the raffle tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow. So have a great night. Take care. We look forward to seeing the recipes you guys come up with for the holidays. All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Happy holidays.